We begin the bulletin with our headlining story. In his maiden address as the newly installed Yang di-Pertuan Agong, Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah called on the people to refrain from inciting misunderstandings by raising matters that can undermine and destroy harmony in the country. His Majesty stressed that unity and harmony are the pillars and strength of the nation.
Bermain dengan api bukan hanya membakar diri sendiri, malahan akan turut membakar seluruh kampung halaman.
His Majesty also stressed that the institution of the Yang di-Pertuan Agong is very important in the system of nationhood in Malaysia. He said this is because the country practices parliamentary democracy and a constitutional monarchy, and that the institution is not a mere symbol.
Ianya adalah merupakan asas perpaduan, penyatuan bangsa dan pencetus semangat patriotisme kebangsaan. Ianya adalah merupakan satu roh yang jika diwarisi dan dihayati oleh setiap anak watan boleh menerbitkan rasa cinta dan kesetiaan kepada negara Malaysia yang tercinta.
Al-Sultan Abdullah also spoke of how the appointment of Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad as the 7th Prime Minister was as if it was pre-arranged, as he was also the 4th Prime Minister during the time His Majesty's father, Almarhum Paduka Ayahanda Sultan Ahmad Shah, had served as the 7th Yang di-Pertuan Agong of Malaysia.
Alhamdulillah. Maka benarlah bagai dikata negarawan ulung tidak lapuk ditelan zaman dan tidak usang di mamah usia.
His Majesty also gave his confidence to the government led by Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, which will bring the country to new heights with his vast experience and wisdom. Recalling the auspicious date of July 10, 1980, when his late father, Almarhum Paduka Ayahanda Sultan Ahmad Shah Al-Musta'in Billah, was installed as the 7th Yang di-Pertuan Agong, Al-Sultan Abdullah said it was destined by God that he be installed on Tuesday on the same throne used by his father 39 years ago.
Hubungan baginda dengan rakyat adalah begitu akrab, yang jelas melambangkan jiwa baginda yang sentiasa memberi keutamaan kepada rakyat.
Al-Sultan Abdullah also hailed the late Sultan Ahmad Shah as a stern yet open-minded personality who cared deeply for the people. The king pledged to continue his father's legacy in promoting unity and tolerance among the people of all races and religions. Meanwhile, in his address of congratulations and pledge of loyalty, the Prime Minister, Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, said shared prosperity of the people is the basis of the commitment of the government in designing programs and policies to make Malaysia a prosperous, dignified and independent nation. The Prime Minister said the government, although in power for just about a year, has shown a high level of commitment and attained success in many matters, taking into consideration the financial position of the country. Tun Dr. Mahathir said efforts will be redoubled continuously to revive Malaysia to be one of the more important economic axes in Asia. The Prime Minister also said national development will mean nothing if the people continue to live in hardship and marginalized from the spillover of development.
Kerajaan tuanku akan terus berusaha dengan lebih gigih untuk meningkatkan program-program kesejahteraan hidup rakyat, termasuk usaha untuk mengurangkan beban kenaikan kos sara hidup. Ini termasuk meningkatkan kuasa beli dan menghapuskan jurang pendapatan antara kelas, kaum dan wilayah. Dalam pada itu, kerjasama semua pihak amat diperlukan agar kenaikan harga barang dan kos sara hidup dapat ditangani secara holistik.
Tun Dr. Mahathir said that in conjunction with the first anniversary of the PH government rule, the government announced the Shared Prosperity Vision 2030, which aims to ensure that all the people enjoy the nation's economic wealth and prosperity together in a more just and equitable manner. In his speech, Tun Dr. Mahathir, representing all the people of the country, also expressed congratulations to Tunku Haja Aziza Aminah Maimuna Iskandaria as the Raja Permaisuri Agong. Earlier in the day, Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah was officially installed as the 16th Yang di-Pertuan Agong in a ceremony steeped in Malay royal customs and tradition. The installation ceremony was broadcast live on national television, allowing the public to witness the historic event, which also falls on the King's 60th birthday. Sultan Abdullah and the Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Haja Aziza Aminah Maimuna Iskandaria entered the Balairung Seri of Istana Negara at 10:45 a.m. The royal couple were escorted in by the Grand Chamberlain Azwan Effendi Zaira Kitnaini, flanked by warrior mace bearers and royal regalia warrior bearers. Once their majesties were seated, the Grand Chamberlain then requested the King's consent to begin the installation ceremony by bringing in a copy of the Quran. The rest of the regalia were also brought into the Balairung Seri, including the Keris Panjang Diraja, the proclamation letter, and the oath of installation. The Quran, which symbolizes Islam as the official religion of the country, was then presented to Sultan Abdullah, who kissed it before placing it on a table to his left. The proclamation letter was then presented to Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, who read it out and formally proclaimed Sultan Abdullah as the 16th Yang di-Pertuan Agong. Right after the king took the oath, the Grand Chamberlain led the hall in proclaiming Daulat Tuanku 3 times, followed by the playing of the national anthem along with a royal 21-gun salute. Tun Dr. Mahathir, representing the government and the people, then delivered his congratulatory message before Sultan Abdullah proceeded with his address to the people. Following the royal address, the Doa Slamat prayer was recited before the Grand Chamberlain collected the Quran and declared the installation ceremony completed. The royal couple was then escorted out of the Balairung Seri by the Grand Chamberlain and ceremonial chief, accompanied by warriors carrying the royal regalia. Politicians holding government positions must not just concentrate on official matters, but also look at party matters. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail said PKR leaders should emulate Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, who paid equal attention to party matters despite his busy schedule.
Sebab apa kita naik pun kerana atas dasar parti juga kan, we are political party, so it's good that we strengthen our own party.
Datuk Sri Dr. Wan Azizah said this to reporters at the Klang Chinese Chamber of Commerce and Industry KCCCI 73rd anniversary and grand opening of its new building in Shah Alam, Selangor, Tuesday night. She said this in commenting on media reports about several PKR leaders allegedly skipping the party's Central Leadership Council meeting on Sunday. UMNO and PAS have rubbished an online news report that claimed the political alliance between the two parties involved an agreement on seat divisions. The report had alleged that the two parties agreed on a 50-50 split on seat allocations for the next general election. In a joint statement, PAS and UMNO denied the inclusion of such specifics in their agreements, saying the charter, which was approved by the consultative committee of each party, did not even touch on matters relating to seat divisions. Instead, PAS and UMNO have agreed to employ a special mechanism on addressing the matter. As such, all quarters are urged to avoid making wild speculations on the PAS-UMNO charter and wait until its launch on April 14th. The news report claimed that UMNO was prepared to hand over its traditional seats to PAS in the next general election, which would be included in the charter. The Pulau Pinang Water Supply Corporation, PBAPP, on Tuesday urged the authorities to check the length of Sungai Muda in Kedah for illegal dump sites, following the discovery of one such site over the weekend. Its CEO, Dato' Ir Jasani Maidinsa, also called for immediate action to prevent a repeat of the incident at Sungai Selangor, which saw a diesel spill earlier this month. Expressing shock over the illegal dumping of electronic and chemical waste upstream from Pulau Pinang's primary raw water intake in Lahar Tiang, the PBA chief said landowners next to the river must maintain a 30 meters riverbank buffer to minimize the risk of mishaps such as chemical spillages and accidental pollution. In a statement, he said the local authorities must make sure they do not encroach the buffer. The dumping ground at Sungai Muda, the size of approximately 5 football fields, had sparked concerns over the safety of the water being used for drinking and to irrigate paddy fields. However, Dato' Ir Jasani assured that tap water remains safe for use based on 3,182 treated water samples taken last year, and said PBA would also take new samples for testing. According to him, Pulau Pinang extracts 80% of its raw water from the river, while Kedah's Syarikat Air Darul Aman extracts 100% to supply the southern portion of Kedah. He said the Sungai Selangor incident should serve as a wake-up call to the authorities in Kedah and Pulau Pinang to take all necessary preventive action. At all costs, he said, mishaps like the Sungai Selangor incident that affected millions of water consumers must be avoided. He added that legal provisions exist under the Drainage and Irrigation Department, Department of Environment, and local councils to prevent illegal activities. The Malaysian Indian Transformation Agency, MITRA, should distribute assistance for Indians in the B40 group directly and not through organizations. Pulau Pinang Deputy Chief Minister Dr. P. Ramasamy, in making this call, said the approach of giving the aid to organizations does not address the dire needs of the thousands of poor Indians in the country. In a statement on Tuesday, Dr. Ramasamy pointed out that most of such organizations took a significant portion of the funds for payment of their own staff and other organizational expenses. He said the practice of channeling funds to the community indirectly through private organizations was done by the previous Barisan Nasional government, and that the current government was doing the same. He said lack of finance was obstructing the educational advancement of many Indians. He also claimed that hundreds, if not thousands, of small-time Indian businessmen were hungry for startup funds, as they had been shunned by banks and credit organizations because of their lack of experience. He said MITRA was not allocating funds to Indian welfare homes. Dr. Ramasamy also said that for more than 6 decades, the government has yet to come up with an effective method to assist the poor and the unfortunate directly. Low-cost carrier AirAsia Group Berhad has pledged to remove the processing fee for customers who pay either through online banking and credit card from October onwards. Its Group Chief Executive Officer, Tan Sri Tony Fernandez, in a Twitter posting on Tuesday said the move is part of the airline's aim to ensure its payment methods are secure and cheap. AirAsia's processing fee starts at 4 ringgit if you're using direct debit, and it can go up to 15 ringgit with Union Pay. However, if a customer opts to make payment using AirAsia's e-wallet application, BigPay, there is no processing fee involved. In March, Bank Negara Malaysia decreed that retailers cannot impose surcharges for payments using debit and credit cards.
Every Friday on Nightline! Woo! Wow!
A road accident ends up into attempted murder case. Stay tuned for the details. Welcome back. Still on Nightline. In Kedah, a normal road accident in Sungai Petani turned something else after two men who earlier sent the accident victims to hospital tried to run down a traffic policeman. The two suspects managed to flee afterwards, while the accident victims ended up being detained for questioning. Kuala Muda District Police Chief ACP Adzli Abu Shah said the incident started when two motorcycles were involved in an accident at North-South Expressway near Bertam. When police arrived at the scene, they saw two men helping two female victims into their car before speeding towards Sungai Petani. They followed the car to the Sultan Abdul Halim Hospital, where the accident victims were admitted to the emergency department. When the policeman tried to stop the car, the driver, however, turned aggressive and tried to run down one of the cops. A policeman fired several shots at the tires, but the car sped off only to crash into the road shoulders. The two men inside the car, however, managed to flee on foot. The two women in the 20s and 50s were later detained for questioning after being treated at the hospital. The case is being investigated for attempted murder. In Malacca, the body of a 20-year-old industrial trainee who fell overboard a trawler while on duty in the Straits of Malacca has been found on Tuesday. The remains of Muhammad Afizuddin Aid Zuhan was discovered by a group of fishermen at 1 p.m., some 3.9 nautical miles from the spot where he fell off the trawler on Sunday night. His body was brought to the LKIM Kuala Linggi Fishery Jetty about an hour later and was then brought to the Alo Gajah Hospital. Muhammad Afizuddin was a final-year marine engineering diploma student from College Ranako in Kemaman, Terengganu. Police are hunting a man who raped his own daughter since she was 7 years old at Batu 9 Cheras. Kajang District Police Chief Ahmad Zafir Muhammad Yusuf said the ugly truth came to light when the victim, who is now 13, informed her teacher of the ordeal and made a police report last Thursday. It started out with a father molesting the girl before he then became more brazen and began to rape her as much as 3 times a week when she turned 13. The man had threatened her to keep it a secret, otherwise he would harm her mother. Police are now looking for Shaharul Adli Muhammad Hassan, whom they believe could shed some light on the case. Those with information can contact the investigating officer, Inspector Nurlaila Khairuddin. In Kuala Lumpur, 20 individuals were detained by the National Anti-Drugs Agency at an entertainment outlet on Monday after they were tested positive for drugs. The 12:30 a.m. operation at Jalan Kia Peng, which saw 53 people tested for use of illegal drugs, was jointly conducted with Kuala Lumpur City Hall. The detainees, comprised of 14 men and 6 women between the ages of 18 and 50 years old, were brought to the agency's Federal Territory Headquarters for further investigation. Authorities also ordered the entertainment outlet to be closed with immediate effect for abusing its business license. Ardent art lovers are in for a treat as they can now view all of the remaining oil paintings by prolific Italian painter Leonardo da Vinci right here in Malaysia. The curated traveling exhibition, Leonardo Opera Omnia, was brought to our shores for the first time by the Italian Foreign Affairs Ministry together with its embassy in Kuala Lumpur. The collection, which are his works of art that have survived to modern times, including his most famous paintings, are now on display at the National Art Gallery. Mizar Shafiza Muhammad Fuad has the story.
Leonardo Opera Omnia is an innovative, ambitious project aiming to share Italian cultural heritage by exhibiting digital paintings. Now, as you can see here, this is a high-definition, true-to-size reproductions of Leonardo's 17 paintings, which are scattered at various museums all around the world. Now, visitors can expect masterpieces like, of course, Mona Lisa and The Last Supper to be reproduced in their own original dimensions, respectively. The exhibition was held to commemorate the 500th anniversary of the artist's passing. It was also to expose the public to European civilization as well as showcase the Renaissance era through visual information drawn by the great master in the 16th century. Although many Malaysians recognize Leonardo and his artworks, they might not have the chance to view all of them as they would need to travel the world to see the original pieces. Therefore, the exhibition is a golden opportunity for art enthusiasts here to admire the exclusive Da Vinci artworks all in one place.
I think this is one of its kind and a most important exhibition that we can bring to Malaysia and for the Malaysian people. It is good to have our Malaysian to be exposed to European art.
The idea of the traveling exhibition of well-known artists like Leonardo, and last year we did Caravaggio in the National Art Gallery, is a fantastic opportunity to develop our cultural ties between Italy and Malaysia in order to strengthen our relation and to let Malaysian people know a little bit more about the Italian culture.
The iconic paintings representing Da Vinci's artistic path were reproduced using sophisticated digital reproduction techniques that include placing the viewer virtually in front of some of the original works. Thanks to the creatively regulated lights, the paintings elicit the emotions one would normally experience when standing in front of the actual art pieces and provide an extraordinary vantage point in understanding Da Vinci's creative genius.
It's very interesting that an exhibition like this can actually come to Malaysia because I've always been fascinated by the artwork by Leonardo da Vinci and the kind of Renaissance painting that he does. It's free as well to actually just try to explore and then get new insight of the different kind of artwork that the world has to offer.
I was so surprised because Mona Lisa is here and there's an exhibition here, so it's amazing. Yeah. You should come.
Everybody should come. It's not really normal for a Malaysian to expose to this kind of art, and also it's really big and interesting.
Leonardo Opera Omnia, which was launched recently by Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister Datuk Mohammadin Ketapi, is available for public viewing until August 15th. Miza Shafiza for Nightline TV3.
Up next, 18 killed in Pakistan military plane crash. Do stay with us. We're back with the foreign news. Over in Brazil, a vicious gang battle erupted at the Altamira prison on Tuesday, killing at least 57 prisoners. According to authorities, 16 of the victims were decapitated, while others suffocated after the prison buildings were set on fire. State Prisons Chief Jarbas Vasconcelos said the violence began around 7 a.m. local time and lasted for about 5 hours. The clashes erupted when members of the Commando Class ACCA gang set fire to a cell where rival gang members from Commando Vermelho were kept. 2 prison staff members were held hostage but were eventually released. 10 of the 16 prisoners who were blamed for instigating the violence will be transferred to federal penitentiaries, while more than 46 other prisoners involved in the conflict will be moved to other prisons in Para. A Pakistani military plane has crashed into a residential area near the garrison city of Rawalpindi, killing at least 18 people and wounding 12 others on Tuesday. According to Inter-Services Public Relations, ISPR, the aircraft was on a routine training flight when it came down in a suburb of Rawalpindi between Bahria town and the Defence Housing Authority. Soon after the crash, a massive fire broke out, engulfing several houses in the locality. 5 of the dead were crew members, while others were civilians, including children. The cause of the plane crash is yet to be determined. With that, I'm Nakia Bashiruddin. Thank you for tuning in and stay safe.